quick little saying that a member of the audience told me about. This is from Solzhenitsyn, and this is one of the reasons I think we're all here, and we kind of have to remind ourselves why we're doing this. He says, and how we burned in the cabins later thinking, what would things have been like if every security operative, when he went out at night to make an arrest, had been uncertain whether he would return alive and had to say goodbye to his family? Or if during periods of mass arrests, as for example in Leningrad, when they arrested a quarter of the entire city, people had not simply sat there in their lairs, paling with terror at every bang on the downstairs door and every step on the staircase, but had understood that they had nothing left to lose and had boldly set up in the downstairs hall an ambush of half a dozen people with axes, hammers, pokers, whatever else was on hand. After all, you knew ahead of time that those blue caps were out at night for no good purpose. But we didn't love freedom enough. That's what makes this country great. It's not diversity, it's freedom. Bill Cooper.
Thank you, Connie. Thank you. Well, you sure know how to make me feel very humble. Thank you so much. I think one of the biggest misconceptions in this country is what this country is all about, who founded it, for what purpose, and most specifically, what it is that we're all looking for.
Oh my God.
I'm going to try to clarify some of those, and in doing it, as always happens, someone's going to be angry with my definition of some of these things. I've traveled all over the country. I've talked to probably hundreds of thousands of people individually over a lot of years. I broadcast a radio show that brings me thousands of letters every week. I administer the world's largest and most successful civilian intelligence gathering operation in the world, which makes me privy to an awful lot of information that none of you will ever see. And there's so much of it, I can never present it in a form that you would be able to look at it and digest it. So that puts a pretty big burden on me and the people who work with me in the intelligence service and in the CAGI News Service in order to digest this information, analyze it, and be able to present to you what we believe, and this is a subjective judgment, what you can digest and what you need to know at that particular time.
Thank you so much, USA for Trump. The reason that I'm not annoyed, I'm a little I'm annoyed is the word. Annoyed is the proper terminology. Is because I think I've been dealing with fucking Sassy and with USA Trump for years off and on, just doing politics and stuff. But what these tech companies that allegedly, I gotta blow my nose, but allegedly Trump is taking over and Musk, and I'm cool with it. I want to see what happens. If it goes bad, I'm gonna not murder them like physically, like hurt them, but on the internet, I'm going to destroy them if they betray this base, because this is the biggest base I've ever seen in the history of politics. I'm 40. I've been following this stuff since I was 19 years old. And yes, I voted for Barack Obama. So there's that. So there's that like innate betrayal coming in where I was like, oh man, how did I fuck up that bad? Was I just trying to get laid? Saying I'm trying to whatever. It is what it is. However, for anyone who comes in new here or watches this after the live stream, see, I don't do that stuff USA for Trump. I don't do the daddy is home stuff. This world is in, and I'm not, believe me, I actually put money I didn't have into getting Trump elected. But I don't do the daddy Trump stuff, all that, like dad's home, he's going to save us. I don't do that at all. And the reason that I do that, I do not participate in that sort of mental process. By the way, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying you're bad. I'm not criticizing you. I'm just saying what I personally do not do is any of that stuff. I want results for the country at the same time that I'm criticizing the country. Because this motherfucker is like Israel first. And we can do a whole separate video on that. You know? But it's very difficult to talk about that topic because the second that someone like myself, the second that someone like me says the Jews, the second that you say the word Jews, you're fucked. Well, I play Linkin Park songs on YouTube that I really like and I think people should hear and make them listen to their live videos so they go out and buy their record, which I did. You know what I mean? YouTube is all about money. And YouTube is afraid of someone saying Jews. They're very afraid of that. So if this video gets taken down, even though I've done nothing wrong, they take down most of my videos, by the way, but yet they keep letting me back because people keep watching them. You know, these are business-minded people. Back in the day, I have to go take some tobacco in a little bit. These little vapes are not enough. I can tell you that. For an actual nicotine addict, they're not enough. They're close to enough, but they're not enough. And plus, I might see some birds or the weird neighbor that walks by and is going to say some weird shit to me, and I'm going to go, hey, do you pay attention to politics? Which I do sometimes. But I don't want to give the impression to people who watch what I do that you're not going to be offended or not going to want to watch it, not going to want to watch it. I'm a very offensive person, not on purpose. You can't do 20 years worth of research and try to figure out this very complicated, extraordinarily convoluted, Illuminati-laced, and then you get into all the other stuff. Are there aliens? Are there demons? Is the earth round? Is the earth flat? And by the way, flat earth makes way more sense to me than a ball earth around the sun. And a lot of fucking people don't understand what flat earth actually is. What flat earth, and I didn't mean to go in this direction, but I was supposed to only have a gummy tonight and I had 3. So my brain's a little bit, I guess I'm a little fucking high. Doesn't mean I'm irrational. What a lot of people think that flat earth is, and I hope some more people watch this later on. A lot of people think that flat earth is, because this is put out by Google and the controllers and the Illuminati and all the nonsense and all the fucking Vatican and all the faggots that run the fucking world, right? Oh, JB said faggots. Yeah, get offended. Shut the fuck up. Flat earth is not Mercury ball, sun ball, Mercury ball, Venus ball, Earth, dinner plate floating in space. Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. That's not what flat Earth is. What real flat Earth is that they lied about the entire solar system. It's actually geocentric, which means that the Earth is the center, and all those things orbit around us. So you can take that, put it in your pocket, and do whatever you want with it. I'm going to listen to some Bill Cooper and go outside and smoke cigarettes and take the dog out and come back and chat with you guys. And if no one comes in, I don't make any money on this channel. I'm just trying to tire myself out so I can get up for work. Because if I go to bed too early, I'm going to end up waking up at fucking 2 a.m. And then I'll be up and then just go to work at like 5:30. And that sucks. I'd much prefer to sleep until like 4:15 and then get up and go to work because I got those couple hours in which are beneficial. USA for Trump said flat. Cool. I'm not sure if he's talking about my... No, because what USA for Trump doesn't know is I actually got my male breasts chopped off and I got some flat breasts installed in there in silicone so I can fit into the LGBT community. All right, that's a very dumb joke, JB. Shut the hell up. Go out and smoke your cigarettes. And when I get back, we're going to listen to some Bill Cooper. Yeah. No, hey, I'm just trying to make sure that people are at least... I don't care if there's one person in my audience. I'll be back in approximately 5 minutes after I inject my body with nicotine poison in the form of Camel Blues. I'm going to do a serious video tomorrow. It's not going to be a live stream, but I am going to do a serious video on a breakdown of... I alluded to it earlier in my botched intro, sort of, on this one. I'm really, really trying to figure out between a lot of people that I respect on one side and a lot of people that I respect on the other side. I'm not talking about Republicans and Democrats. I'm talking about all conservatives. And there are some people who are saying that Donald Trump is moving as quickly as he can. And I pay attention to this stuff. I'm not just some person on the internet. You know, you seal the border and you start fucking around with, should we take Greenland? I mean, this might be the greatest president in the history of the United States in terms of almost like a Caesar type, but also personable and doesn't abuse his citizens. And then on the other side, I look at the fact that in 2000, back a few years ago, I never took the vaccine. And this guy, I don't know if he was pressured, which, knowing what his personality seems to be, I cannot myself picture this person being pressured. So maybe he was like bribed a little bit, or like, just do this, just do. And that vaccine, I mean, the people on the internet, I'm wearing a MAGA hat right now, okay? So I'm not saying any bad shit about Trump. But when the history books are written, because I hope I'm still alive in like 10, 20 years. I just turned 40. I mean, he really promoted the vaccine. And a lot of my family members took it, and took it twice or 4. Which to me is extraordinarily disturbing, that maybe he didn't see what was going on, but none of us saw what was going on. And I'm not making excuses for the guy. And certainly, I start with myself. I'm not making excuses for myself either. But I don't have to, because I said, whoa, what the hell is that? Everything. Do you guys hopefully Craig the Hunter? I haven't seen you in a long time. I haven't seen Craig in at least a week, unless I forgot. And it's not because, it's just because I suck. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think he was forced into it, and I just hope it's not as bad as Tom Renz says it could possibly be. And if you guys are watching me on YouTube, you know who Tom Renz is. And if you don't know who Tom Renz is, you certainly know who Alex Jones is. So you can go on YouTube and type in Alex Jones, Tom Renz, and you're going to see a bunch of people who are posting videos from a year ago and a year and a half ago and 2 years ago that were banned from YouTube, and they're going to redirect you to places like Rumble and BitChute and stuff like that. I have to pick my nose. It's itching uncontrollably. Oh my God, that itch was horrible. That was almost like a scorpion sting right in my fucking right nostril. Yes, Craig the Hunter. Great to see you as well. I'd love to have a bigger channel. I'd love to have some girls in here, have some party on the internet, but very, very difficult to get through the censorship. And also very, very difficult with my innate and fully rationalized paranoia. I can look at USA for Trump, and I can look at Craig the Hunter and go, these are some CIA people that are just trying to monitor me. I can say that in my head to myself because it's totally possible. And even if it was true, you wouldn't be able to tell me. You know what I mean? So let's watch some Bill Cooper. Hit play. Go.
And in doing this, digesting all this information, reading all of these letters from people of every kind of background that you can imagine, every race, every religion, every kind of agenda. Believe me, there's an awful lot of agendas going on in this country that are dangerous to Americans. Being promoted by people who claim to be Americans, who claim to be patriots, and who claim to be doing the best for this country, including those who want to destroy it and bring about a one-world totalitarian socialist government. They sincerely believe in their heart they're doing the right thing for humankind. You see, nobody gets up in the morning and sets out to do evil. Nobody consciously does that. I've never met any person in my entire life who said,
Bill Cooper, I disagree with you. Hit play. Go.
I'm evil. I'm going to do evil things. I like to do evil things. I want to do evil things. They don't exist, in my knowledge. They may exist somewhere, people like Jeffrey Dahmer. And I believe that even Jeffrey Dahmer probably rationalized what he was doing in his own mind to make it right. Isn't that the way we all do things? Even if we do something wrong, know we're doing something wrong, don't we attempt to rationalize it in our own mind and to our friends to justify what we're doing? So I believe it's a great fallacy to set out to brand those whom we disagree with as being evil people. The result of their actions we may perceive to be evil. We may perceive it to be bad. But I guarantee you those people don't see it that way. And when we present ourselves to them in that light, we're good and they're evil, do you think we have a chance of getting them to listen to us? Not on your life. It's not going to happen. So I think we have to change the way we talk. We have to talk to them in a different manner. Now, don't take what I'm going to tell you standing up here today and compare it to what I say on the radio and expect the two to concur. Because when I'm here, I'm just Bill Cooper. I'm talking to you from my heart. When I'm on the radio, I am on a mission. And that mission is to slap people upside the head and wake them up.
USA for Trump, it's a long lecture from, I believe, 1996. So that's when I was in 6th grade. It's a long lecture. I mean, long enough. It's an hour. Listen to it. I'll just leave it there. You're a smart enough person. You get what's going on. Hit play. Go.
But even make them hate me if that's what it takes to get them to go examine what I'm telling them to find out that it's right. You see, I don't care how it's done as long as they wake up. If I have to be the bad guy that they're going to hate for the rest of their life, that's okay with me if I wake them up. But when I'm here talking like this, that's not my mission, because you're awake already or you wouldn't be here. You see? There's a difference between the people here and the people that I'm talking to over those airwaves. Big difference. An awful lot of you are steady listeners of the Hour of the Time and have been probably for many years. And when I'm talking on the radio, I know who you are and I'm not talking to you. And I know that when you're listening and I talk about the sheeple, the stupid sheeple.
I don't like it when he's a dick like that. This guy's passed away, by the way. They killed him on his front lawn. But here's what I'm going to do right now. And I might come back to zero audience, which is fine. Again, I'm not monetized. I just do this because I like to. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave this on play. I'm going to go grab half a smoke and take the dog out and then come back in and finish watching this. But like I said, I've seen this one about 20 times, but it's so important. And the fact that this was filmed when I was in 6th fucking grade, because just the way that my age is lined up. So, for example, 1994, 4th grade, 95, 5th grade, 96, 6th. So they all just happen to line up that way. And ironically enough, I was born in the year 1984. Oh, that's a pretty important number. Some people in this community think that the number 1984 is rather interesting. It's just weird that I was born in that year. Why not 83? Why not 85? You know what I mean? But it is what it is. I'm going to hit play. I'll be back in about less than 10 minutes. And if I come back to no audience, that's cool. I'm just doing this for me. Hit play. Go.
It doesn't make you angry. You know why? Because you know you're not stupid sheeple, don't you? The person that gets angry has verified that I was right. Because he wouldn't get angry if he didn't know in his heart that he's a stupid sheeple. You ever been walking down the street and somebody comes running out and says, bank robber, stop that bank robber. Do you start running? Why don't you start running? Because you're not the bank robber, right? Do you get angry? No. Do you pay attention? Most of the time, if you're from a big city, chances are you don't even look around, right? If you're from a small town where I'm at, I mean, people will come running out in the street to see the bank robber because it's a small town and not much excitement goes on there unless the IRS comes to mess with me. So, what I'm going to talk to you about today comes from my heart, from my experience in life, from playing this role as messenger which I take very seriously, from my efforts to wake up the American people, from my family, from all the letters that I get, the people that I talk to, just like I've talked to many of you here today, I've learned some things. And I think these things need to be passed on to you. And I think you need to start examining yourself, your agenda, your mission. Who are you? What are you about? What do you believe about America? Is it true? Are you helping to divide us more? Or are you helping to bring us together? Do you really understand what this country is all about? Now, I know this is going to make some of you angry. That's okay. I know that it's going to open some doors for some of you. I hope that it'll bring us all a little bit closer together. And I hope that everybody, once you've examined your own particular agenda, will try to make it fit better into what we should really be doing. And I'm going to start off way back in history, folks, because that's really where it began. The human race is young in the whole scope of the life of the earth. We're just a young species, really. Haven't been around for a long time compared to everything else that's in this world. And I'm not talking about biblical years, and I'm not talking about theory of evolution years. I'm talking about from the time when you can see that man emerged on the historical scale of this world and began to affect other species and the world that we live in, and himself, by perfecting the ability to think. First original thought. See, there used to be a time in history when man was just like all the other animals. He didn't think, he didn't know good from evil. He existed and lived by instinct just like the other animals did. If you want to believe the record that we can look back and see written in stone. Okay? If you want to believe that there were creatures that ultimately became this thinking man that you see standing up here in front of you and sitting out there amongst you, didn't have this ability. Now, if you doubt that, read Genesis in the Bible and you'll see that it's confirmed there. Wasn't there a time when Adam and Eve lived in the Garden of Eden? They were not to think. They did not know good from evil. They were just there to take care of the garden. Is that correct? So this concept and the biblical concept agree. Man just enjoyed what God had put there and sort of took care of the garden. Any dentist will tell you that our mouth was not made for eating meat. So ancient man most probably ate vegetables and nuts and things like that. Roots. Doesn't mean that I'm telling you to become a vegetarian, because I'm not. You see, I really believe in freedom. I believe you should eat whatever you feel like eating. That's your business. But that's known to people who study these things as the age of innocence. Something happened that brought man out of that state, and if you're talking from a biblical reference, out of the Garden of Eden and into the world. He wasn't innocent anymore. He understood that he was naked, that his partner was naked. He could think. He could look around. He knew when something was good and when it was bad, just as we all do here. When somebody comes up to me and says, well, how do we know which is the right way to go? I know that person is setting me up to justify his bad deeds, and I won't do it. You always know. We always know which is the right way and which is the bad way. The bad way sometimes feels better, so we may choose that way and justify it by rationalization in order to make ourselves feel better about the bad that we did. In the mystery schools, they refer to this mystical time of coming out of the age of innocence as the Luciferian philosophy. I've tried to illuminate you with this for years on my radio broadcast. In the Bible or in the church, they talk about the fall of man. Same thing. There's only one difference between the Luciferian philosophy and the fall of man, is that those who talk about the fall of man believe in God, whether or not they believe in a Savior, they believe in God. The ones who believe in the Luciferian philosophy do not. Now here's how that works. In the Bible, we're told that Eve was tempted by Satan to eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. God had commanded Adam and Eve not to eat of the fruit of that tree. If you do, ye will surely die. Isn't that the commandment? Lucifer, through his agent Satan, on the other hand, told Eve, God lied to you. He's holding back the fact that you too can become God. But first you have to eat of the fruit of this tree. And if you do, you will surely not die, but shall become as gods. Isn't that true? So, on the religious aspect, we see that as the fall of man because man disobeyed God. We see that as the subjugation of the woman beneath man, where she had originally been the partner. Now she is subjugated beneath man because she was the agent of man's downfall. Is that correct? Now, I'm not talking right or wrong. I'm not trying to insult anybody in here. I'm just telling you what we're taught so that we all understand what we're talking about, because that's most important. If you understand something differently than what I'm trying to impart to you up here, and we don't have the same definition, we're not going to understand each other, are we? The mysteries, on the other hand, look at this in a different light. Here's their story. It's a metaphor. They don't believe that there ever was a God, or that there ever is a God, aside from man himself. And man has not reached that state yet, but can, this is what they teach in the lodges, that if you perfect yourself as the temple of the God within, and become Christed, you've all heard this in the New Age movement, you too can become God. In her movie, running on the beach, spinning around, I am God. Go ask her early in the morning when she just wakes up and goes and sits in front of the mirror and looks at her aging face and tries to cover it up with makeup if she's God. She may tell you a different story about that time. Around noon, she might be feeling better and become God again. But this is the reality of the human condition. We'd all love to be gods, wouldn't we? My question to Shirley MacLaine at one time was, please, Shirley, could you make me a universe? She sort of looked at me with this hurt look on her face as she confronted her mortality and realized that she was not God because she could not make me a universe. She couldn't even make herself a universe. She can't even make herself look young again. She's having a hard time paying some of her debts. God doesn't have that problem, does he? And in her case, she. Here's the way they look at it. Here's their metaphor for the end of innocence. Adam and Eve were held prisoner in the Garden of Eden by an unjust, cruel, and vindictive God. Until Lucifer, through his agent Satan, set man free from this garden by giving him the gift of intellect. Through the use of intellect, man will conquer the earth, will conquer nature, and will himself become God. It's taught in every Masonic temple in this land. Every secret brotherhood, every secret society, every mystical temple, every occult organization teaches the Luciferian philosophy. They do not believe in Lucifer. They do not believe in any entity called a devil, and they do not believe in God. It is a mistake for you to assume that they do. They're atheists in the strictest sense of the word. They are humanists. That's their religion. At the highest level, their goal is to create a world in which the adepts, the 1,000 points of light, working behind the veil to create the culmination of the great plan, can realize the ultimate happiness for mankind. That's why they don't oppose pornography. That's why they don't oppose certain crimes. That's why they say you should not be put in jail for the rest of your life for murder or anything else. There should be no death penalty, because it was a learning experience. And having gone through that learning experience, you're a better person now. This is what they teach. They believe punishment for these crimes is nothing more than vengeful retribution, which is wrong in their eyes. So these are really the two philosophies that we have competing with each other in the world today. Who brought man the gift of fire? Prometheus. Who was Prometheus? Lucifer. What was the gift of fire? Knowledge, intellect. Hasn't man created industry, culture, society, science from the use of one solitary thing? Fire. Without fire, none of it would have occurred. None of it. Nothing. There would be no society without fire. That's how it's represented in the ancient myths and in the mysteries. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? What is it represented as? A bolt of lightning struck a tree. The tree burst into flames. Ancient man, if you watch the movie Quest for Fire, rushed up and grabbed one of the burning branches, and it burned his hand, and he let it go. He probably didn't go any farther than that the first time. Second time, he may have found a deer that had been roasted by the heat of the fire in the forest. And being hungry, maybe he partook of some of that meat and found that it tasted pretty good. Also, the fire was warm and didn't get cold at night. And this is where the whole battle between the forces of light and darkness comes from. Man sat up on a rock one night watching the sunset and said, "Boy, I'm in deep trouble now. I can't see in the dark. There's wild beasts out there. There's tigers with teeth 7 inches long that want me for dinner. What am I going to do?" He didn't know what to do. Neither would many of us put in that situation. But we would know one thing: we're in deep trouble. And so for a good part of his history, man sat huddled in the darkness in some place that made him feel secure, waiting to be saved. Now remember, folks, I'm not telling you what I believe. I'm telling you what is taught in the mysteries. I'm telling you what our enemies believe. Make no mistake about it, they are our mortal enemies. They want to see us wiped off the face of the earth. Man huddled in this darkness, fearful, trembling, cold, hungry. And around about he could hear the beasts roaring. And sometimes they were roaring because they were after him. And sometimes he was eaten. A man eventually saw another tree struck by lightning and grabbed that branch with that flame on it, and by a little experimentation, he learned how to keep that fire going. And if he could keep the fire going, he knew something nobody else knew, and he became the first king, the first priest, the first scientist, all rolled into one. And he would burn this fire and keep it going. Another man in the cold of the night, wanting to escape from the terrors that were out there, would gravitate toward this glow, and they would see this man sitting there. And if he was kind, he would let them come to the fire, and they would be warm, and they would be protected, because if the wild beast came, he'd pick up a branch and shove it in its face, and the beast would go away. And so the forces of light overcame the forces of darkness, and in the sunshine of the morning, the newly risen, resurrected child that had died the night before, their Savior, warmed them and saved them from the terrors of the prince of darkness. You have to study these things to understand your enemy. Any general who ventures upon a battlefield without understanding the enemy is doomed to defeat. Just like a militia that forms itself upon a peninsula has already created its own concentration camp, unless it has a navy. Damn good militia, I might add. What is the upshot of this? What am I getting at here? These people believe, and they have conducted themselves according to their belief and their philosophy since the very dawn of man. These people learned how to control others through the use of a hidden knowledge. This ability to keep that fire going was a technology that nobody else knew. By observing the fire, by keeping it going, by creating ceremonies around this fire, they became a mystery to the others. A mystery always holds sway over those who don't understand it. And the priesthood was born. No king ever existed without the permission of the priesthood. And I don't care what religion you're talking about or what period of history you're talking about, it is the truth. The kings never had the power and don't to this day. Kings exist at the whim of the real power, which is the priesthood standing behind the throne. And when the king ceased to be of benefit to the priesthood, they would simply poison him or get rid of him in some other way. The king is dead, long live the king, and there would be another king appointed. There was even a time in history when the king was a sacrificial king, just like John F. Kennedy was in the Temple of the Sun known as Dealey Plaza. They would pick a young man at the height of his virility, appoint him king for 1 year. During that time, he could do or say or command whatever he wanted. The priesthood was always there to make sure he commanded the right things, have any woman that he wanted, and at the end of the year, he was ceremoniously sacrificed upon a rock, his heart ripped out, his body dismembered into 14 pieces and scattered over the land. And this is where the legend of the Osirian cycle began. It was to ensure the fertility of the crops of the next year. And young men would volunteer for this in their patriotic duty to their kingdom, to their family, so that they could have prosperous years. Much as our young men may volunteer to rush out over the water to a place called Kuwait or Iraq and die in the God-forsaken sands of a place that nobody can even find on a map and never heard of until it happened. all so that he can be called a patriot, someone his family can be proud of. It escapes me how they can ever arrive at these conclusions, but they do, and the priesthood always takes the most advantage of this willingness to sacrifice oneself upon the altar of his country. The problem with it is, it's very seldom really for the country. It's for the advancement of the agenda of the priesthood, whoever the priests happen to be at the time. Am I attacking the church? You better believe it. All churches, all organized religions that have existed since the beginning of the time. Am I attacking the religion of individuals? Never, not on your life. He wasn't trying to create a big church. He knew what happened to those things. And you're all wrong about that man. When you say he shouldn't get angry, he shouldn't curse, he shouldn't do things that upset other people, because that's what Jesus spent his whole life doing. He threw the money changers out of the temple. Don't you think that made some people angry? Don't you think it was rude to walk up to somebody's place of business, smack them in the mouth, grab their table, and throw it out the door? What about the time he cursed the fig tree? You know, pious Christians sometimes make me very angry. They don't even know Christianity. They don't know the man they're following. He was a revolutionary. He was a dangerous man. And by God, so am I. And so should you be. This country was founded by dangerous men. Amen. And the moment the people in this country cease to be dangerous men, it's going to be the day we cease to have a country. Their whole goal with this philosophy is to teach all men and women that the only end of life is to seek the utmost pleasure and happiness that you can get out of it, because when you die, there's nothing else. That's what they teach. That's what they want you to be. They don't want laws against sexual promiscuity. That's why they don't want families. That's why they don't want marriage. That's why they encourage homosexuality. There's a method to their madness. There's really not much method to yours, because you're operating from a place of ignorance. And until you change that, you're going to be bumbling around, bumping into each other, saying and doing the wrong things, not understanding the nature of your enemy. And if you don't understand the nature of your enemy and the weapons they use, you cannot fight that enemy. You can't fight the battle. You shouldn't even be on the battlefield. That's why you're losing the war. And don't tell me you're not, because I'm in a place of great knowledge about who's winning and who's losing this war. And I can assure you, you're losing the war. Doesn't mean it can't be turned around. But it'll never be turned around until you learn what you need to know. You don't even recognize half the weapons that they use against you. And some of them seem so insignificant that you don't even try. They want to create a world where everybody is happy all the time, doing all of the things that, if you're from a good religious upbringing, is wrong to do. If you're not from a religious upbringing, but you have a good brain and you understand the purpose of morals and ethics, it's still the wrong thing to do. If you're a thinking person. And then the priests had an army. Oh boy, weren't they happy with that? Their whole purpose throughout history has been to teach a small number of people how to become adept at controlling everyone else and presenting their societies as desirable to the profane, so that you'll go knock on the door and say, hey, can I be a member? And be initiated with the promise of learning some great secret. What is that secret? The secret is what I have just told you this morning. The secret is how to control everybody else. And you never understand how to control everybody else until you get to the top of this pyramid of initiation. Most people never make it past the third step. All above that are carefully chosen and nurtured and taught. And Americans for all these years have been looking around for the enemy. They've never been able to find an enemy. So those who control them were able to control them even better by giving them an enemy. That's what Stalin and Churchill and Roosevelt determined at Yalta. Who was going to be the enemy post-war? Turned out to be Stalin. And there was going to be this phony Cold War so that the population would never discover the real enemy. And I'm talking about the population of the Soviet Union as well as the rest of the world. You see, the enemy has always been here. It's your uncle, your aunt, your father, your mother, your brother, your sister, your nephew, your nieces, who belong to the fraternal orders collectively known as the mysteries. The very highest degrees of which, combined together, make up a secret order known as the Illuminati. Their goal is to destroy all existing religions save theirs, all existing governments save theirs, and shackle the mob in a system of eternal oppressive debt chained to a computer for the rest of their life, in a propagandized world to make them believe that they are happy in this system. Now, do you think they're succeeding? Haven't I described to you just now exactly what is going on in the world today? Yes, they're succeeding. They're succeeding because the American people don't understand their enemy. They don't even know what's happening. People were extolling the virtues of Pat Buchanan and actually considering voting for that man for president, and he sent them all a postcard. And on the front of that postcard, he identified himself as a high priest of the mysteries. Because on the front of his Christmas cards that he sent to all of his followers was the penis of Osiris, the phallus, the obelisk, with a nice red bow tied around the base which represented the testes. You know what he was saying to you? Are there any children in here? He was saying, he was laughing at you. And so was every other member of the Illuminati. He was a highly degreed member of the sovereign and military order of the Knights of Malta, which was taken over in the Peasants' Revolt in England by the Knights Templars, who had sworn revenge upon the old Hospitallers of St. John's, which later became the Knights of Malta because of their role in the suppression of the Templars. How many of you watch Trinity Network? How many of you watch Pat Robertson? You ever seen the cross in the crown? Do you know what that means? It's the symbol of the Templars. The Knights Templar. It is the symbol of the unification of the church and the government over the people. Is that what you want? Every time any church gets control of government, the people suffer. It has always happened. That's why our founding fathers established a country where that was not supposed to happen, where everybody...
Hit pause, go. USA for Trump. Am I going to keep this video on my site? I don't have a site. So here's where I'm, and it's not just me, it's, you know this, it's millions of people around the world who try to live stream anywhere we can. I can't afford the $129 a month it takes. And by the way, Rumble is a very honorable website. I just can't, I don't have that, what's the term? Excretionary funds? What does that mean, like extra money? Because I don't even, in my head, I don't even know what extra money means. Excretionary funds? Is that the word? I don't have the, yeah, that is the word. I don't have the excretionary funds to set up a Rumble site where I can live stream, so I rely on YouTube. And here's what fucking happens with YouTube is you play one wrong thing or say one wrong thing, and even with Trump in office and Elon and all of it, and Zuckerberg, and they're all, I'm paying attention to all that. You have to pay attention to it. If people aren't paying attention to what's going on in terms of social media, I really hope it turns around. You know what I would love? You know what I would love? USA for Trump. You know what I would love? I would love to be able to go on this platform, YouTube, like I could in 2009. I don't know if I'm older than you. I don't know if I'm 40. I don't know if I'm younger than you, but I remember when YouTube, and I wasn't even awake yet. I didn't wake up until about 2000. The process really started 2009, 10, 11, and then I just went off the deep end. And a lot of people, especially Alex Jones viewers, which I am one of the biggest supporters of Alex Jones. And there are some other people that have really, really come on board, such as Joe Rogan. And in my opinion, Elon Musk. Now, there's a huge debate in my very community that I just cited right there, that there are people fighting and arguing about, is Elon Musk good? Is Elon Musk bad? Is Joe Rogan good? Is Joe Rogan bad? And you even have some overseas people that, off the top of my head, I am on 3 weed gummies. There is no way I can think of their names right now. But what I will say is that, from my perspective, someone who was literally thrown out of society, okay? I mean, thrown out of society. Because I said 2 planes do not knock down 3 buildings and no one died at Sandy Hook. I can prove both of them. Oh, that's probably going to get this video taken down. But since YouTube has, for some reason, been being nicer to me lately, I just get these videos and they go, your video... I actually had 2 of these. I'm not in the business of showing people my personal emails, so I'm not going to do that. Because it's just not safe. Even though I trust everyone who's here, it's just not safe in general. And I think you guys would agree with that, but especially with all the code readers they have and stuff. But oh man, I just think about how far the truth community has come. And since I guess I just want to hear myself talk a little bit longer, believe it or not, this includes flat earthers. I said this earlier in the same stream. I'm going to say it again. People who are looking into flat earth, we don't believe that there's a giant sun 93 million miles away and a little rock Mercury, a hot rock Venus, and then Earth is a flat pancake floating in space. And then Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, which has been demoted. As we all know, I think that happened in 2009. That's not what actual flat earthers believe. What flat earthers, and this is where I'm getting close to it. I'm fully in, but I'm being nice to the new people who are going to watch this maybe for the first time tomorrow. Not even hearing my 9/11 rants, not even hearing my Sandy Hook rants. But I'll do a little flat earth just to keep it light so people don't, so at least people can make some jokes. But I'm telling you, the compelling argument is that the earth is a plane so what actual flat earthers believe, myself sort of almost fully included, is that what flat earthers believe is that the earth is the center of creation, and we don't know what the universe is. When I say we, I'll say them, but I don't want to alienate them, so I'll say we, just to keep it simple. And that the sun is small and local, and the moon is small and local, and that's why they're the same size, and that's why there are eclipses. And there are all kinds of things out there called planets. And since I've done this work on my own, this is my own brain. I've never heard this from anyone else in the flat earth community, but so you can have a flat plane of creation, right? With everything else rotating in the heavens around you. And I'll get into why they would lie about it a little bit later. I can't believe I still have 2 people watching. This is fucking crazy. Anyway, so if Earth is an infinite, which we don't know how, Flat Earth Dave says that it is a flat plane and there's an ice wall on the outside, and the ice wall is actually Antarctica. I'm cool with that. I haven't proven it in my own brain because I don't say things that I haven't proven to myself just yet. But David Weiss's argument is far more plausible than water sticking with gravity that doesn't exist. Gravity is a theory. A lot of people don't know that. Gravity is literally a theory. Whereas what makes more sense is if you remember, because all of us take showers these days, but when we were a kid, we would take a bath, and sometimes we would have, toys or the drain thing made of rubber in the bathtub, and buoyancy and density. So when you got into the bathtub, the water would rise. But the reason that you didn't float was because our density, even as children, was so much heavier than the relative density of the volume times mass. Please don't kill me for my equations. I was really good at math growing up. Volume times math, volumes to math. The point is that there's a reason that the rubber ducky filled with air floats. And there's a reason that when you sat in the bathtub as a kid, the water would rise because your density and weight was displacing the relative volume of the water, which can be easily described by equations. So that water is very malleable. So we have to believe in this theory of gravity that it literally holds all the nations water to the earth, spinning at the velocity that we're saying that they tell us that it's spinning at, running around the sun, and there's a lot of 6s and 66s and 66 millions and a lot of nonsense going on there. And yet, you can watch David Weiss's videos that he films from his camera, and not just David Weiss, millions of people around the world, showing perfectly flat water. Perfectly flat water. I mean, like, zero ripples. If you spit 10 feet out, the ripples would take over the entire lake. I mean, perfectly still and flat water. So does that make any sense? I'm losing everyone now, so it doesn't really fucking matter. I'm just going to play some William Cooper. Boondock said flat earth. Yeah, I just gave a quick my understanding of it so far. I've been looking into it for about at least 5 years now, but not fully there yet. But anyway, more William Cooper. Let's go. Hit play. Go.
He was free to worship at the altar of their choice. And if you think they were all of one mind, you better think again. How many religions of the Protestant group do you think existed in this country when our founding fathers put together the Constitution? Over 1,500 different groups, all claiming they were right, teaching a different dogma, quoting scripture to justify what they said, and everybody else was going to hell. So don't give me this Christian nation bullshit, because that's what it is. This nation reflected Christian values because the people who made up the government in the early days were Christian, but none of them agreed with each other, and they still don't today. They very seldom ever have. What do you mean by Christian? Seventh-day Adventist? Branch Davidian? We need to do some serious evaluating, some very serious checking out of agendas. You really want to take over the government and make it a theocracy? Because I'm going to tell you exactly what's going to happen if you do that. You're going to burn people at the stake who disagree with you. And if that happens, I'm going to have to take up arms all over again. And so will many of you, because you're going to be persecuted. You see? Because whichever one